right, aloha and welcome to Own the Outcome podcast. My name is Tyler Deveraux, and today we have the one and only Mr. Cole Taylor. Bro, welcome to the podcast.
It's good to be here, man. It's good to be with the fellow Sunday Swagger fan. We both got our
Hey, bro, I noticed it immediately. Yes, noticed it immediately.
It's the
They're
daily
the best
uniform.
shirts, huh?
They're the best. I have man, I have some Bad Birdie and a couple other ones, but these are my favorite, man. It's something about it. Lulu
Hey,
pants and Bad Birdie or Sunday Swagger shirts is the uniform.
that's 100% my uniform. I have probably 7 pairs of black Lululemon pants.
That's what I'm
And
wearing right now. These are gray because I'm wearing navy, but usually it's the black ones.
bro, I love it. And listen, the Sunday Swagger, they fit different than
Mhm.
Bad Birdie. Like they
Yeah.
fit better around the arms.
Tighter on the arms, looser on the yep. It's
Yep.
great.
See, bro, I get
You
you.
get it.
I see you.
I knew I liked you.
Brother, I'm excited for you to share your wealth of knowledge with the listeners today. Like, and if you guys don't follow Cole, you will definitely follow him by the time this episode is over. He has business coaching, health and fitness. You're coaching as well. You used to be a pastor. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
former pastor, yeah.
And then who did you play? You played football too. Who did you play football for?
Yeah, University of Tulsa. So that's
Okay,
what
sick.
this jersey is behind me, and I had one extra season that I played when I was getting my master's at a Division II school as well, Central Oklahoma.
Nice.
So I represent both of them.
Yeah, your background is you played the guitar as well.
I do. That was a lot of what I did at the church. Did music. I still get to sing at church a couple weekends a month. So yeah, man, got a lot going
Dude,
on.
that's
I like to be all over the place, keep people
I was just
surprised.
gonna say. You're throwing people like you find very few people who play football, are a pastor, can sing, no business. Like, dude, God blessed you, bro.
I'll take it. It's I don't claim to be the best. We'll call it a gift.
Love it. Let's talk about the journey. I would love to talk about the journey
Yeah.
quickly, and then I would love to talk about the health and fitness stuff. But I would love to talk about your journey from pastor
Mhm.
to diving into health and fitness and
Sure.
business and where that transition happened and what that looked like.
Yeah, so to kind of condense the journey because there's so many twists and turns, and I feel like my life is a probably forever twist and turn. Like God has a weird sense of humor. It feels like for me, it's like I could wake up tomorrow and he said, "You're moving to Africa," and I'd be like, "All right, like if that's what you want." So I very much live open handed, and I think to me that's the way you receive the most too. Is if you got open hands ready to give, and I'm not holding things too tightly, then things just find a way to come to you as well. But I was, I finished playing football, got a business degree, and I had grown up in a church environment and grew up in a family that actually had pastors in it as well. My sister and her husband pastor a church. My mom pastored a church when I was younger too, and then also she was a Bible school teacher. And so this is the environment I grew up around. So I finished my business degree and went straight into ministry. To me, that was the best way that ever seen to be able to make an impact on people. That's what I knew. And I, being a performer, achiever, if you know anything about Enneagram, I'm a 3-wing too. And so I can be in front of people and help and be seen and accomplish things. And so I'd felt a strong pull to go into that. Well, I got a couple years into it and I found that there's a couple things missing. One, I wanted to talk about more than just faith development. I found myself over and over with the teams that I led, which I had, somehow crazy favor to where I was a, 21, 22-year-old kid leading hundreds of volunteers. And they're like, "You got it." And I'm like, "All right." I don't massive churches too, like, 10,000 plus members. And so was just getting really cool opportunities. But I found like what I was talking about more was not just faith development. It was, "Hey, you and your wife are struggling because, bro, you just haven't taken her on a date. And when's the last time? It's been what, 6 months? Okay. Like you don't feel good in your body because you don't sleep and you eat junk food all the time. Like we don't need to pray about that. Like there's some practical action we need to take." And so I found myself having these conversations of like, yes, like the spiritual piece is just as important, but the Bible I read says faith without works is dead. And so like there's so much of like, I believe it, but I'm like, you're not doing anything. Let's do something. So I got to that place where I'm like, I'm having these conversations. I feel like I need to be doing something with that. And then also, I didn't like making $30,000 a year. And so I wanted to create some more opportunity for myself. And so I started actually on the side doing sales for an online coaching company and learned this thing. And I'm like, wow, I in 2 months is making more than I did in a year at the church. Like, this is wild. And so very quickly found like, man, there's some cool stuff that you can do inside of business. So I actually went back and got my master's. I got an MBA. I just wanted, I'm an avid learner. Like if I'm going to do something, I want to learn how to be the best at it. So I, started my MBA, actually launched my first coaching business during that MBA process. It was a health coaching business because I knew like, well, I know how to talk to people and I'm certified as a trainer and I played sports my whole life, which, it's another thing too, is I got a personal training certification just for the fun of it. I'm like, I'll learn it. It's great. And so I started coaching people and I made $10,000 my first month of business, brand new. And I was like, wow, okay. Like I have a 6-figure business day one. This is incredible. And so I fell in love with it. It was a kind of really quickly the competitor achiever turned on. I was like, wait, I can build something. This is amazing. Well, I also found out in this process that I was just as much pastoring people in that than I was inside the church. And so I really fell in love with coaching of like, oh my gosh, like I still get to talk about the things that I believe. I get to walk with people through heavy stuff, yet I'm getting paid to do this now instead of just doing it at the church. Well, why don't I just give my time for free to the church and serve, and I can build something that makes me meaningful income for my family and future. And so, yeah, so it started as a health coaching business. It took off, and we were doing 7 figures in the first year, and it just like it got crazy. I was like, I don't know, like just God's hand blessing. I can't really explain it outside of that. Definitely was hustle and work too, but I started coaching people in that capacity. I started learning business, just me. Like the more I got out of the coaching on the fitness side itself, and we hired other coaches, I'm like, I just need to learn this business game because there's more to it. So I got more certifications. I started learning some of what I coach in now is these operating systems. Got certified in a couple of those, like EOS and Empire, and so, like just learned like how do I build a business. And I started having other coaches come to me like, "Hey, can you show me like what are you doing?" And I'm like, I can just teach you. Like I'll show you." And so I had a first business client that I'm like, "Bro, I don't do business coaching." And he was like, "Well, I'll pay you whatever your fitness clients do and some. Can we do our calls on business?" And so it kind of fell into my lap. And then as I went through more of these certifications, and this will kind of wrap up to the journey to where we are now, is the health business kept growing, the community, and we've had the privilege of serving thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs to help them get their health dialed in. And it's been incredible just to see the impact. Like I don't love just the fat loss stuff. I love the, men showing up better for their families. I'm around for the people I care about. But I was doing some of this business coaching, just kind of fell in my lap. And I got one of these certifications that the guy who ran the certification, like just somehow favor was like, "Hey, you really get this thing. Like, can I give you some of our clients? Like, I don't want to do the coaching. I don't have room. I don't have time, but like, can I just start handing you people?" And I'm like, "Sure. You want to give me business clients? It's amazing." And so that's where the business stuff really began to take off, and led me to where I am now, is where I've got to coach hundreds of businesses through this process. And now I don't do stuff through him anymore. I've an own firm I'm a partner in now. But I feel like that open handed thing that I talked about at the beginning of just like, okay, like whatever is next, I'm open for it. Amazing things have found a way into my lap. It seems like.
I love that analogy at the very beginning of if you hold on too tightly, right? Open to receive and open to give and all those kind of things. But if you hold on too tight, you're losing opportunities. And that is
Yeah.
such a great analogy and such a great visual.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of my first questions that I have because first off, how long is that journey from like when you transition from being a pastor to
Fast.
starting your businesses?
Yeah.
2 years.
Um, I I stopped being a pastor in 20. Like, well, so in a official capacity, honestly, I still look at what I'm doing as just as much a pastor before, and
Yeah.
just to be clear on that language. But I stopped as a full time vocation in end of 2018, beginning of 2019, and started my master's and started the business right in. It was like right at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, right when COVID. It was like perfect timing for a health business too, because gyms were shutting down. So my first business launched. Again, I was doing a little bit during the church time. I was doing sales on the side, and so there was about 2 years where I was just doing sales for another company, and I learned the process, and I started jumping and doing coaching too. And so really, I had the sales and the coaching piece down. I just had to learn how to build a business and learn how to market, which I didn't know the actual like social media and ads, and I didn't know any, but I knew how to talk to people, so we could talk about how I built it. And it was all just like, how do I just get in the room and show up as Pastor Cole and love on people, and it somehow happens. I started to get to speak a little bit, but yeah. So the journey started in I left full time church at 2018. really in 2019 into that beginning of 2020 is when the business fully launched. And then now we're 5 years later, and a lot has changed in 5 years.
Oh yeah, huge growth in 5 years. Did you
Yeah.
feel, you said your family was part of it as well. Their that's their background, the history. Did
Yeah.
you feel, and maybe you don't because you still feel like you're doing and you still are doing that pastor side, because I definitely agree that you do that.
Mhm.
And but did you feel pressure to stay there, or did you feel
Yeah.
pressure, or was it challenging to leave?
Yeah, so honestly, the pressure I felt was not from the family. They've been incredible supportive. It was like, whatever you feel like is the best, like we trust you. And I had a little bit of track record too of whatever I committed to ended up going pretty well. With the football stuff, academic scholarships, the music stuff I'd done. There's like you'll probably figure it out. You land on your feet. But the pressure I felt was more from me, and I had attached so much of my identity to being the church guy and serving people and being pastor, and like coming away from that, there was a guilt that I had of like, well, am I like not following God anymore? And like, am I not going to make an impact in the way that I thought I was? And so I had to work through a lot of that, but it was really self-imposed. It wasn't from God. It wasn't from my family. It was just me. I'd wrapped some cobwebs around my own head. So it was actually a really hard transition, but it ended up being, 100% the right thing.
Yeah, isn't that true? It always actually comes down to us. These
Mhm.
things that are challenges or pressures that we feel, it always ultimately comes back to us,
Yeah,
and how we can
100%.
improve and move through those kind of things. So maybe I'll ask you before we get into the fitness side and some of the pivot,
Yeah.
but how did you work through that? And how did you ultimately come to, molding all these things together? And then how do you take these faith-based principles and weave them into business and health? And how does that all come to fruition?
Sure. Yeah, so first how I worked through it to me is the same like stuff we preach now. Like I had to have some real belief changes. And so there's work that I had to do internally. It was reading, there was prayer, there was insight I had to get from external sources. I also had mentors that walked me through it and pointed me in the right direction. And I didn't know this then. I think I kind of lucked into it and probably had a good enough upbringing that I got guided a little bit of like, why don't you talk to these people? Which is now, exactly the framework that whenever I'm trying to grow in something, it's the same stuff as I got to have habits and routines that I put in place to change things. And I got to surround myself with people that are going to walk me through it, mentors and peers. And so I had some really incredible mentors that pointed me in the right direction and helped walk through that of like, hey, your calling is not what you do, it's who you are. So regardless of where you show up, you're still going to be helping and serving people. Now, you're going to find a lane and a sweet spot, but it might change again. Like, don't be surprised. Just be willing to take that step. And I had a mentor that told me, on that topic of calling, he said, a calling is not something you live up to, it's something you live out of. So it's not something you're supposed to accomplish. This is something that's already inside of you. You just show up and you bring it with you. And
Mhm.
so I had incredible people walk me through that. And then when you talk about how do I weave it all together? To me, it's all the one and the same. Like the principles of growing in your faith, growing in your business, growing in your health, growing in any area, it's all the same process. And for us, like I've got 3 layers of change that, regardless of where I am, business wise, health wise, relationships, fitness, it's all the same process. It's heart first is like, I have to have an internal change. There's an identity change that has to happen. Like I have to believe something different and then I behave different is second. But heart, then your habits change once your hearts change. Most people try to flip that and they say, well, if I change my behaviors, then I'll get there. Yeah, maybe for a short period, but if you don't change the belief behind it, that identity thermostat, then the activity never changes. And so I recognize it's what we did in the church is like, let's help people change their heart. Let's have them give them a new experience. Let them, for us, the words we use, like actually have a relationship with God, and then they'll want to behave in a different way. Not like I got to earn something. It's once you've figured out who I am, then I act differently. My who shapes my do. And so I realized that, man, it's the same thing in fitness. Like most people just try to do 75 hard or they try a challenge and they try to change the habits thinking that's going to lead to the health, which that's the third one, heart, habits, health, is that, if I can just change these habits, then I'll get healthy. Yeah. So we found that as we started to change people's hearts, their habits just as a byproduct changed. Their belief system shifted. And so their behavior started to follow. And, instead of, like I said, doing those challenges that they were doing before, they had real belief system changes for the health guys that, hey, I believe I'm an athlete. I'm a healthy person. And so I just act like one now. I'm not trying to become something different. I'm just training because I'm an athlete. It's who I am. And, the health then became a byproduct of that. As my habits shifted, I eat different, I train different, I sleep different. And so I become healthy as a byproduct. Like I get this result because I acted, and then the result changed. But that was the same in the church too. It's like we had this experience with God, and then because of that, my habits change. And then as a byproduct, like I get a better life, I get more fulfillment, I get better peace. Not this whole where most like religious people preach is like if you got to earn this thing, here's the rules you have to follow. Like I just like my God's a relationship God, and so let's do that first. And as a byproduct, I want to live in a specific way. Well, the reality is, after coaching so many leaders and businesses too, it's the same thing. If we don't believe something different about our business, our purpose, who we are, where we're going, then it's really hard to change the systems. It's really hard to change strategy because you don't really know what's driving that. Like, Simon Sinek talks about start with why. I think it's deeper than that too. I think you got to start with who. Who am I? And let that do come out of that. And so I just found in every one of these domains, if I believe something different, I have this heart change, then I behave different, the habits change, and then I get the byproducts or the health of all these things. And I'm like, man, it's the same framework. You could probably put me in some other random thing if I can learn the skills, like teach people computer programming. Great, let's change their heart first. They got to believe. And so I just found this thing over and over again, and it's cool that you can really impact people in the same methodology with just different outcomes.
Right, I agree, and I love that a ton. I'll say that, my tagline is "Think bigger," and think bigger. It's not just, we teach people how to buy apartments, but that's not
Yeah.
like the thing. It is literally thinking bigger, and I will say that if you believe you can, you will. If you don't, you
Mhm.
won't.
Yeah. Yeah.
My question with that is, how do you? And this is a very tough question,
Yeah.
very loaded question. So put your seatbelt on.
Bring
Maybe
it.
it's
Let's
not for
go.
you. But, like, if you had some actionable steps for somebody on how to change their belief system, like
Yep.
that first part, what are some
Hardest
things that
part.
somebody could do to enhance their belief?
Yeah, hardest part. The thing that makes it tougher is the belief is not a one-time shift. I can't just do it and then it's stuck. It's an ongoing thing. And so that, that journey of belief to behavior to byproduct or heart to health to habits, those loop back into each other. And the habits actually reconfirm the heart, and the behaviors reconfirm the belief. And so most people just try to like, all right, I'm gonna do this thing and I'm changed. No, like it's a constant reinforcing, and the results actually reinforce the belief too, and so they all loop on each other. And so I always said that as the thing. But when I teach this, because this is the first thing we talk about in our health program. And we're not going to talk about what you eat first. We're not going to talk about how you train first. Those are good. Those will get the results, but we have to change you first. And I teach this, and I give 4 V's, 4 things that they have to do to start to shift that identity. The first one is visualize. First, you have to see it. If I'm going to become a different person, I have to see what that identity looks like. And we talk, walk through visualization exercises. What would it look like for you to lose 20 pounds? How would you feel? Like how would your shirt fit? Same thing in business. Like, what would it feel like if you made that, your team looked like that, or you guys were making that impact, or, same thing in the church. If you can visualize what that experience looked like, that shapes the trajectory. It's also your motivation that keeps you going. And so, to me, it's starting to see and set that GPS of what am I actually shaping this identity towards? Because most people just like, oh, I'm going to be healthier. And they don't really know what that looks like. And they just start running and doing habits. I'm like, hold on, like, define what healthy means to you. We got to see it first.
Mm,
Like let's set the GPS. And it's not just a goal and a target. It's what does this feel like? What does this mean for me? And so it's a lot of that why behind it that comes from that too. So first off is I got to see it. So visualize. Second is vocalize. I am such a believer in the power of your words, and not like, the church world gets a little weird in it sometimes. And a lot of woo woo people do of like, speak it and it happens. I don't think it just things appear out of nowhere because you say them. If I don't believe it and there's no action behind it, like, but it's a part of the process. And there's so much science behind how words actually shape our environment. They shape our belief system. I read a study of greenhouse that they split in two, and they spoke negative words over half of the plants and positive words over the other half. And the scientists were blown away at how the difference of growth was just because they were speaking life and death on different ones. And I always tell people when I'm speaking too, I'm like, think about the opera singers when they sing those high notes and the glass shatters. And I'm like, just see that and tell me that our words don't affect the environment around us. Like it does. And that you can actually see how water is manipulated when you speak at it, and it changes the shape of the molecules. Like it gets pretty crazy when you dig into the science, but we're like mostly water. And so our words
Mm.
shape what happens inside of us. But even more than that, when I start to visualize and see myself as something different, like when I stopped playing football, I gained a ton of weight. I just was shoving my face, stopped working out. I was done. I just was burnt out. And I went from like 185, 190 playing weight up to like 225 of not good weight. And I stay like, I'm like 215 right now. Uh, totally different body composition though. And so I had gained 40, 35, 40 pounds of just chunk. And I tried to jump into this, like, let me just lose the weight. Like I'll do what everybody else does. Like I'm a, start a routine or whatever. And I gained it, lost it, gained it, lost it. It wasn't until I started implementing this identity process that really shifted things. What started with, let me just picture what I actually want to become. Like I need to become an athlete. Well, I already am an athlete. It's not Saturday afternoons anymore. It's for business now. It's for, I show up differently. And so I started to see it. But the danger was when I started to visualize that, I would walk across the mirror and I would see myself and I'm pretty tough on myself, and my brain would be like, "No, you're not. You're fat. Is what you are. You're not an athlete. You do not. Like, what are you talking about?" And so my reality started to fight back against me. To me, the power of your words is not just to shape your beliefs; it's to reinforce and fight against some of that fight back. Because, and there's an exercise I always do for our teams is if you try to think and speak something at the same time, you can't. Like the speaking shuts down. And so if you're listening to this, try to count in your head silently. So if I just say go and you start counting silently, now say your name out loud. The counting stops. Like
Yeah.
your brain literally can't think something and speak it at the same thing. And so I started figuring this out as I was like, I'm an athlete. I could see it. And I started to speak it out and then I walk across the mirror and your brain's like, you're fat. So is what you are. I'm like, no, I'm an athlete. It immediately shut down that thought. Now, when I stopped talking, it came back. And so there's a constant battle until you get healthier and start to prove it. But you actually have a reinforcement of no, this is who I am. This is what I'm becoming. And it actually like, I mean, you can't say positive words and not feel positive at the same time too. And so I realized, man, it's this real tool to shape how you believe and feel. And so visualize and vocalize. The third is vote. Nothing really changes until you start voting. James Clear in his book Atomic Habits, every action you take is a vote for the person you wish to become. To me, that's where the magic happens. The first two are just shifting, the faith side of things, the belief. Like I started, okay, I can be an athlete. Like I'm setting the vision. I'm going to start to remind myself. I'm going to see it. But the action is what starts to shape the results. And so, it's kind of the first two are starting to shift my heart a little bit. Now I got to attack the habits. And so for me, it's from this place of I'm not trying to become something different. I already am an athlete. So how do I act like one? How do I vote with my actions and prove myself right? So if I'm an athlete and that's the truth, what would an athlete do when it comes to this meal? Or what would he do when it comes to going to bed or training or sleep so you start to think of things instead of fake it till you make it. It's no, I'm training because I already believe I'm an athlete. And so how do I prove that? It also gives you some grace too, because you'll mess up 100%. Like you're a human. You're going to eat the pizza when you said you weren't going to. You're going to oversleep one time. Like there's realities of lack of discipline sometimes. Now we can build that. We can get more and more consistent. But when you're just changing and you're becoming something different, the reality is you're not going to be perfect, and you shouldn't expect that. But when I go off this voting system, anytime I would mess up, I would look back and be like, hey, that's one vote. Look at all the other votes I've made towards being an athlete. That's 17 in the last 3 days that I've made, or whatever it is, versus this one pizza. Like I'm still an athlete. And so it actually gives you a reminder of this grace that says, I don't have to be perfect. Just like when I played football, I didn't always make it to workouts on time because I was an immature college kid and I overslept sometimes. Didn't mean I wasn't an athlete. I just, I made a mistake. So the third is vote. And the fourth one to me is the most powerful one because it actually shapes the other three. And it's why I'm in masterminds. It's why I hire coaches. It's why I love the community part of what we do. The fourth one is vicinity. So I have to surround myself or put myself in the vicinity of people that already have that identity, because who you are shapes who you become, or who you're around shapes who you become. Like I have, like my physical body cannot help it to start to act like that. People I'm around to think like they think. Like it changes the way we believe. That's why we talk about the rule of five all the time. You become like those you surround yourself with. I always say it the other way though. It's like if I surround myself with five broke people, I'll be the sixth. Five fat people, I'll be the sixth. And so to me, I have to be very intentional about that. But to me, it's not just reinforcement. It's actually acceleration. I always tell like the story of the Peloton. You guys, you probably heard the brand name, but the clumps of cyclists in races, those packs are called Pelotons. And I dug into it one time and started researching. I'm like, why the heck do they do that? Like, is it just because they want to be like they're neck and neck and racing? And I read into the science of how much intentionality is behind those shapes and how much it reduces resistance and makes the journey easier, makes like the group as a whole travels faster with less work because they get in that alignment. And it's why they in teams they race like that. And I recognize like that's the same thing that happens when we surround ourselves with other people. Is not only does it reinforce and change us, but it accelerates things and makes it easier. If I'm going to get healthier and I just surround myself with healthy people, just get behind like instead of me trying to figure out how to eat healthy on my own and go to the gym, like why don't I start hanging out with people that already do that and let's just do what they do. It's the same thing that happened with business. Like I mentioned that guy that started mentoring me and handing me clients. I'm like, how can I just follow him around? What can I do and being around those groups, and it's why I spend, way too much money, uh, 6 figures plus a year on coaching to be around communities because it accelerates everything. And so to me, I got to see it, visualize it. I got to vocalize, I got to speak it. I vote with my actions to prove myself right and confirm that this is who I am. And then I surround myself with those other people, which reinforces that and holds me in and accelerates it. And when I mess up, because I will, I've got people that will say, nah, bro, like get back in here. You're better than that. Like when I go eat with my family, they're like, dude, you have a sick, like, why can't you eat the cookie? Like they love me. They're not trying to pull me down. They just
Yes.
don't get it. But when I eat with my guys that like a lot of them train for, races, ultra marathons, they do bodybuilding stuff. And I've committed to something and they know it because I'm vocal about the goals and we do that with each other. Is if I order the cookie, they'll be like, bro, what are you doing? You just told me you had to hit your macros for the day. Or even better, we'll be at that restaurant. And instead of saying like, eat the cookie, I had the 4 guys next to me say, I'm not getting dessert. I'm not getting, then it comes to me and I'm like, well, I'm not going to either. I'm not going to be the weirdo. Like it's harder to step
Yeah.
out of it than it is to get into it. So visualize, vocalize, vote, and vicinity. To me, that starts to shift who I believe I am and accelerates those results. And it becomes, like I said, it starts that loop. If I get results, then I believe more. I get results, I believe more.
So good, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, Strat, will you give me another note paper? This is the first time I've ever had to do this, but I've literally just like taken notes over here and I literally am out of space. I'm out of paper.
Oh man, I
So, bro,
appreciate that.
you're so good at breaking it down. You're also a great communicator, bro. You're a
Thank you.
stud. Like you are a master of your craft, which
Thank
is
you. Appreciate
evident.
that. Hmm.
No. Well, I appreciate you sharing it, dude. It's awesome and what you've done, and I resonate with it a ton because you need people that hold you to a higher standard,
Yes.
and your community is so huge. And same thing, man. I spend 6 figures every year on, plus on coaching
Yeah.
and mentorship and communities. And yeah, I learn from presentations, and yes, I learn
Sure.
from the education and the online. But dude, it is being in the vicinity of those that help me level up, and
Yes.
it's a beautiful thing.
Man,
And
well, to me, it's like I always ask myself the question is not can I do it on my own? Because most people listening to this, you probably could like you could figure out how to lose weight on your own. 100%. Like you're a disciplined, smart person. If you built a business, you can figure any other goals out. The question I always ask is, what am I going to miss out on if I don't have that accountability and that pushing from a mentor or peer group? It's like, is that like that last 10%? There's a reason the best have coaches. It's like I don't want to leave that on the table or leaving it up to risk or even speed. It's like I just hired another coach last week for like, a guy of bigger businesses than he does, but there's a specific strategy that he teaches that I'm like, I need to just stop watching the course videos. Like, just let me pay him, and he'll make it faster. And it's significantly accelerated in the first 2 weeks we've done it. And so I'm like, I live by this framework. Whatever I can invest in, like, let me just make this faster and easier.
yes, yes, it's. I was just telling Strat, man, before we started, I met with a new coach. My first meeting I had with her is yesterday,
Yeah.
and I was telling Strat how impactful it was, man. And one of the things that she unpacked with me was similar to what you just said, which was she had me visualize, okay? And I,
Yeah.
I think that I just don't want that to go on deaf ears of getting clear on
So
what it actually looks like. Cause you said, I want to be fit. And
yeah.
it's like, okay, but what does that
What does that
look like?
mean? Mhm.
Yes. And so she literally had me get extremely clear on this future version. Like, how does that person act? What do they
Yeah.
do? Are they
Mhm.
joyful? Are they fearful? Are they,
Yeah.
what is it?
Yeah.
And then bring it back to, have you ever read the book, Be Your Future Self Now?
I think I read the Spark Notes. I don't know if I actually read that one, but I know the premise and it's incredible.
So
Yeah.
good. And
Yeah.
it literally, the title says it all, right? It's like, that is what it is, but it's like, okay, identify who that future self is,
Yeah.
but then do that, then just do those things now. Like,
Yes.
get clear on it, visualize it, but then do those things
Yeah.
right now. And one of the things that I heard you talk about before is you talked about deciding, or you called it, I call it decide first, you call it pre-decide.
Yeah.
But I always will
Pre-decide.
say
Yeah.
decide first.
Mm.
So when you say pre-decide, what does that mean for you to pre-decide, and what kind of things, let's talk about on the health side of things.
Yeah.
Because you, in fact, you know what? I think what you were talking about is that you travel a bunch and you
Yeah.
still have a six pack even though you
Sure.
travel.
Yeah.
And so do I, bro. So high five.
Let's go.
Okay.
Come on.
Because it's hard, bro. Like on the
Yeah.
road, it is. But when you say pre-decide, what does that
Mm.
mean? And what kind of things are you pre-deciding?
Yeah. Man, that is such a valuable topic, and it's something that I heard from a pastor that I used to work under, and I still listen to his stuff. And it's Pastor Craig Rochelle, incredible leader. But he talks about this topic of pre-decide, and that's where I got it. But to me, most people try to make decisions in the moment. Hey, I'm going to not eat that pizza. Even though I've already put myself in this environment, or they try to make decisions when emotions are high. It's also where dangerous stuff happens. Like dudes cheat on their wife because they didn't set any boundaries, and they got drunk in a bar when they're traveling. And then it's like, to me, like I want to avoid getting anywhere near making important decisions when I'm at an emotional state. And so I need to preset expectations so that I don't ever get in that. It's like, so for fitness, I was using the example of, instead of me getting on this trip, because I travel every single week for the business clients that I work with, or to travel and speak, or at least 3 times a month I'm somewhere, usually more. And so I get in this rhythm. But when I used to do it, is I would just show up at the place, at the hotel, and be like, all right, what am I going to eat? Like, what what am I going to do? And then without fail, it's late at night, there's nothing open, I wasn't prepped, and so I hadn't pre-decided what my commitments were and a plan for that as well. And so I've started this new system where it's like, I will pre-decide what my commitment is. Like, am I going to hit a certain macro target? Okay, I've already pre-decided. Am I going to work out? I've already committed that I'm going to do that. Like, is there any drinking involved? I'm not a big drinker. I don't really, but like, every once in a while there's a margarita or whatever, a place that like they say is incredible. I'm like, okay, is that allowed? Or is it dessert? Or whatever the commitments are, which I say that I haven't had a drink in like over 6 months. So maybe that one's out the window. I don't even think about it anymore. But it's usually dessert. Like, all right, ice cream. Am I gonna, big ice cream guy? But I'm pre-deciding yes or no, instead of getting to that moment. Ice cream comes out and you're like, well, always going to lose that one. And so
Mm,
I pre-decide what the commitments are. And then I create a plan for that of, okay, if I'm going to work out, where? Like, is there a hotel gym? Is there a Lifetime down the road that I have a membership to? If I say I'm gonna hit these macros, like, what's the plan? Do I got to bring stuff with me? Do I have enough that I can, get to nearby? Like, what's the actual plan for that pre-decision? But most people, again, try to make decisions in the moment. Like, oh, I'm gonna follow a diet, and then they get wherever they're at, and they can't because they didn't actually commit to it. One, and then two, they didn't have a plan for it. And this totally has changed it. And honestly, it makes it easier because I don't have to think about it and make it emotional. Like, well, I'm craving cookies. Like, no, I already made a decision and have a plan for it. It's a lot easier to execute then, because I don't have to use that discipline muscle as much, because it's just execute the plan versus trying to, in the moment, I don't know what I want. So pre-deciding's been a
yes.
game changer for me.
So good, man. And it's actually one of the takeaways, because I very much decide for, I call it pre-decide, decide first. I call it decide
Yeah.
first most of the time.
Right.
And I will decide, okay, when I go there, I'm gonna, go to yoga
Yeah.
on the day that I get in, hot yoga. Then next day I'm gonna work out,
Yeah.
and I know what I'm working out. And then on the third day I'll run, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But one thing that I haven't dialed in and pre-decided, that when I heard you say it, that was, a call out for me, was my diet, and
Yeah.
meaning what I'm gonna eat. Like, I
Sure.
have limits on, I don't drink, so that's
Sure.
easy.
Yeah.
But I don't, and like the dessert stuff, I'm good there
Sure.
too.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, where I get in trouble, I eat. I will not eat great. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't have
Mhm.
a dessert. I'm not drinking, but you know what? I'm eating Taco Bell. Shit,
Yeah. Yeah.
feel bad. You know,
Mhm. Yeah. To
so
me,
deciding
that's
those
the
things and planning that.
it's difficult because those actually take more logistics, the nutrition does, than the training. It's easy to say, like, I'm going to work out and there's a gym there. Cool. The nutrition's a lot harder, because especially when you have very strict macro targets. I mean, I was training for the ultra marathon too. Like, even like it was wild. Like I had to pre-decide. Like I had clients that, I mean, I got an 8 o'clock session that I'm starting. I got to leave the hotel at 7:30. Well, I got in at midnight the night before, and so I had to really like, man, I got a 2 hour run I got to get into. So we got to get really tactical with this pre-decision, and I have to have all these carbs and electrolytes before the run. How are we getting there? And so it accelerated a lot of this, but most people don't think about it at all, and they wonder why when travel comes up or something happens, they fall off their goals is because they just didn't get tactical and intentional enough to say, here's what I'm going to do and how I'm going to make it happen. And then they don't rely on discipline to hold them to that. And so it's honestly not that hard once you get a framework because I don't think about it anymore because I've done it for so long. Because I know exactly what I'm gonna eat, I know how I'm gonna do it, and it actually gives you cushion to enjoy stuff. Like if I want ice cream at dinner, great, I can pre-decide that, and I'll work backwards and say, well, here's what the breakfast has to look like, the lunch has to look like, the snacks, so that I can have the ice cream. And so it
Mm.
allows you to get what you want still, but you can still hit your goals versus like, well, crap, I ate the ice cream and I didn't plan for it, and now we're screwed.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, that's so good. It does. It gives you freedom. That's one of the things that I heard so many about, or so much about from the testimony. I listened to a bunch of your testimonials,
Yeah.
and they would say like it's actually literally easier. I'm doing more, getting more results, but it's easier because I don't have to think about it. That was like a very
Yeah.
common thing that they said.
Mhm.
It's like
Yeah.
there was already a plan,
Yep.
and you have a actually like a free program that
Yeah.
you offer a test or something that you do, correct?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so we basically taken the lessons that we've learned for the thousands of clients we've been able to serve across, different locations and industries, and most of them are entrepreneurs or executives, but there's some very consistent principles that we found that work for most everybody. We put it together of here's how you eat and how to calculate it. Like here's how to calculate your calories, here's how to put your macros together, here's some meal plans to follow to hit that. Here's how you should train, here's what supplements that we typically see people need, here's what testing we'd recommend. And so basically, we've summarized our blueprint of how we get people results and put it in a free PDF document for people to follow with LinkedIn attachments. And I'd be happy to give it to all your listeners if they want something to start with.
Yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah.
great way to get
How do
the
they
habits down.
get access to it?
Yeah. Yeah. I can give you the link below. It's going to be a long URL because ours is it's the starting line dot fit and it's forward slash protocol dash free. Let me double check that because I didn't
No, you're good. No stress. We'll grab that. We'll
top
put
of
it
the
in the
thing,
show notes.
or it might be
Make sure
free
we
dash
put a link in
ebook or
there.
something. Yeah, I'll get you the link for it.
Sweet. Love it. Appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
And dude, it simplifies the process. And so I would love to talk about what you do on the fitness side of things with,
Yeah.
because it's more than just like, hey, do this workout. But when I was looking through your stuff, that's what I mean, I've followed you for a long time too, but like
Yeah.
really diving into your website and dude, it's intense of what you offer. So walk me
Yeah,
through some of that.
it's I mean, it's a little bit of my background without telling too much of it. I've lost most of my family members from health complications. Lost my mom when I was born, lost my dad of heart attack when I was in high school. God great, blessed me with an incredible adopted family. And so the mom I mentioned earlier is adopted mom, and I don't see them any different. And then I had multiple other people that passed from health complications too, aunts, uncles. Every man in my family's had a heart failure, by the way. And so it's, uncles, grandpas, all of them. And I have one blood relative left from that. So all I had to say is to me, it's not enough for us to get people shredded or get them in incredible shape if we're ignoring other potential stuff that happens. Plus, if you just guess, it's harder to get people in shape. You can, but basically, like that led me to this place of I don't want to just give people workouts and nutrition plans. I want to dig deeper and figure out what their body actually needs and if there's dangerous things going on. And so all of our stuff starts with testing. We do DNA, hormones, gut health, and some others that we can spread into like food sensitivity and GI tract. It's pretty crazy. But the idea is we start off with data and we say, what does your body actually need? And the cool part about this too is it not only finds stuff that's wrong that we can fix, but like the DNA testing that we do gives a blueprint for your body processes carbs or fats better and you need more of those. We've got guys that have like, I'm a keto guy. And we come in, I'm like, you're actually fat resistant. Like you can do that if you want, but you're going to feel way better if you actually eat more carbs. And it blows
Mm.
people's minds. Same thing with training is because of your muscle fiber type and where you store body fat, whether it's subcutaneous under the skin or intramuscular in the muscles or organ fat, which is visceral, your body actually, you can train differently to attack those slightly different. And studies have come out on how you can really pivot some of that stuff. And so we're finding just accelerated ways to get people results too. And so basically, we take all that data, we put it together in a custom protocol of here's what you eat, here's how you train, here's what supplements. But because most of our people are crazy busy and life is like, hey, I travel or I got kiddos or I got work, is we'll do whatever we can to what we call put it on autopilot. Essentially, we got a concierge service that like, why don't we just send you the food? Like, do you want groceries that we can send for your family? Do you need meal prep? Are you traveling? Like we'll send Uber Eats. Like I was at a real estate event the other day that I was speaking at, and one of our clients walked by. I was like, "Where'd you get that?" And he was like, "Oh, Elliot sent it to me." It's our head of concierge. Like, I got my chicken salad. I'm like, "Oh, my man, I'm glad you're using it." And so,
Sick,
having
dude. I
having
didn't
a
know you did that
source.
part. That's amazing.
It's cool. Yeah, a lot of you'd be shocked at how many clients don't take advantage of it, but the ones that do get the most out of it, and I don't have to think about it. Like me, I have food that shows up every week that hits my macros, and helps me get there. It just makes me like part of pre-decide is like, okay, I'm gonna pre-decide, and then can I delegate that and let it be done for me? And so that's our system. That's what gets results. But we have a lot of things around that that help. When I talk about the heart piece and the vicinity that I talked about, and so our community, like we do events that we host for our clients. Like monthly, I allow our men, women that they just don't get to come to my house, but our women. And then quarterly, we have bigger events where people come and work out together, and we do identity stuff. We have a whole process that we put our new clients through that works through their identity and figures out like what limiting beliefs are holding you back, what things are getting in the way, what habits do you have that we need to get rid of, and help start that rewiring process. And so there's a lot of other community and challenges and stuff, but the framework that really gets people the results is the testing, the protocols, and then put it on autopilot. And then from there, it's like, how can we get you internally to believe something different while we do this? So pretty
You're
fun.
an
It's a blast.
impressive person.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
You are. Like the stuff that you put together. And I said it was intense when in the beginning, but I didn't mean intense. I meant impressive.
Yeah.
Because what you put together is impressive. And I didn't even know some of the stuff that you just mentioned there,
Mhm.
which is even more impressive. It's pretty incredible.
I
So,
appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah.
question for you because, and I really have two more questions. I want to be, conscious of your time and respectful of your time, but I have two
Yeah.
more questions. One of those is, the title of the show is Own the Outcome.
Yeah.
And you see somebody like yourself, you're successful in business, seven figures out the gate with your business that you created. You've been, a spiritual giant. You played, football in the, the collegiate level. So sometimes people just see the wins. But man,
Yeah.
you briefly mentioned some
Mhm.
stuff with
Man.
family that are
Mhm.
massive. Those are
Yeah.
major things. Um, so first off, what does own the outcome mean to you? Like when you hear that, what does that mean? That's part one.
Yeah.
And then part two is what's a challenge that you've went through,
Mhm.
or maybe even your biggest challenge, whatever comes to mind,
Sure.
and how did you own the outcome of that? So part one first, though.
Yeah. So to me, own the outcome is a principle. I don't call it that, but I love that phrasing. It's a principle that I live by, and I think I had to learn this. And I'll prequel the answer to this question too is going through a lot of this loss. Is you're given a choice, and this is the reality for everybody in life. So we go through things. We have hard stuff that happens in life that forces a decision. And to me, owning the outcome is me deciding that I can take control of this and I'm not a victim to it, but I can be a victor, and I can choose what to do next. The problem with most people is they have tragic stuff happen and they forever stay a victim and they don't own the outcome. They don't take control and they think, well, this happened to me and so I am this person. Well, I've always taken the belief that, yes, that happened to me, but I get to decide how I respond. And because of that, I have the power back. I couldn't control what happened to me. I can't control the hand the dealer gave to me in these cards, but I can control sure as heck how I play them. And to me, that like I love the poker analogy. I can't control the hands that I'm dealt, but I can sure as heck control how I played them. And the best poker players do not get the best hands. It's what they do consistently and how I play that hand over and over that determines the outcome. And so to me, that ownership drives that outcome. And so I learned that through those losses, and that like the loss of my dad was the hardest. The loss of my mom when I was born didn't affect me as much. I understand enough about psychology now to understand how that did affect me, but I didn't know, and I was a little baby. But my dad was in high school. Me and him were talking, have a conversation. He fell over and died right in front of me, and I was a 17-year-old kid. And so very traumatic thing. Like I'm calling 911, like I'm trying to get and I'm a high school kid trying to figure out what just happened to his hero. And so, it was a wild experience. And there's a lot of layers to that too, more than just father. I mean, like that was the pillar of faith for me that, taught me everything I knew. That was my mentor, my leader, like, best man I've ever met. And there's a lot of deep questions that came from that. But I was given that same choice. It's like, am I going to be a victim to this thing that, man, Cole had a lot going for him. He's going to, academic scholarship and was going to go play football, but, then he lost his dad and who knows what happened to that guy. Like, that's what happens to most people. And I have friends like that so much potential, but something tragic happened. And because they didn't own the outcome, they became a victim to that situation. I decided that I didn't want that thing to be an anchor for me. I wanted it to be a weapon. And so I actually used that and said, hey, this thing didn't happen to me. It happened for me. Like, this is a fuel for me. And I'm going to, like, especially for people that have gone through loss, we get this choice to, or instead of me sitting around and moping and, yes, there's a time for grief, 100%, like we got to heal. But instead of me sitting around and just sitting in it, I said, like, how can I honor him best with my life? What would he want me to do? Like, what would be of 10 years, if someone could look back and say, man, your dad is so proud of you, what would I have to do now? And it totally changed the trajectory of my future of, man, okay, he loved football. I love football. Like, I'm sure as heck better play this. Like, and so that next season was a freak season my senior year where I led the state in touchdowns and I didn't have a very good junior season. My coaches didn't even think I was going to even get a college chance. And the next year, led the state in scoring, was an all-state receiver, got to go play Division I, and like it totally changed outcome because and I actually had 4 dad eye strips that I wore that year, and I literally used it as fuel to say I am going to do something with this, and that's something that's carried me, and I think that's something over and over that has, tough stuff goes on in my life. And I'm like, okay, this is a choice. Like this will be part of my story that fueled me, or it can pull me down and it can be an anchor or a weapon. And I think the third part to that really has made this process of owning the outcome meaningful to me is people say all the time, it can happen to you or it can happen for you. And I believe that my father, that I would never choose that, but it's a gift that I was given that shaped me. I think even further now, I recognize it's happened through me. So it didn't just happen to me or for me, it's happened through me to where the reason why I started that health company is because I wanted others to not go through what I went to. I don't want others to lose their father early or other men to pass early and, miss out on the impact they could make on their families and their future. And so it's something that I carried with me to not only I'm going to make my life different, but how can I make others' lives different too, so they don't have to go through what I went through. So to me, that's owning the outcome.
Gosh, bro, that might be my favorite answer that I've ever had on the
Wow.
show. That is incredible. I've taken so much notes during this conversation with you, bro.
I appreciate
Like,
that. It's an honor to be here. Just enjoyed this conversation.
yeah, me too. I want to point something out that
Yeah.
just in case it's, I just want to, you ask the questions that you ask yourself are so powerful. Like I noticed it when you were talking about the 4 V's and you were ask yourself better questions through that
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, hold on. Am I really this? Because I got 17 votes here and I got
Yeah.
1 vote from a mistake that I made. So am I really? Like you just ask better questions. And the same thing here. It's like, okay, man, how do I honor him through this process? Like, and there's been multiple things within your journey that you've told me that you've just asked better questions, which has produced unbelievable results
Yeah,
and
because
unbelievable impact.
you think different. I think you mentioned, I don't remember how you said it, but like those asking different questions makes you think about the situation different and see it from a different lens. That's something I have a practice of, and you probably just see it in how I answer things, that I talk to myself a lot and I will regurgitate things and I'll ask, like, how can I look at this situation differently? And mentors do that as well. And a lot of that, I can't take credit for is them asking me those things is, they knew those mentors during that time knew my dad well, knew what he would have, what would have honored him, and they would ask those questions. And so, yeah, I mean, asking questions differently makes you think differently.
Mm. And if you think about it, that's your second V. Your
Yeah.
second V was the vocalized part.
Yeah.
And
100%.
you're choosing to
Speak
speak
something
life
different.
into yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. What was the other question? You said there's 2 of them you had.
Bro, I can't even remember. I literally can't even remember because I literally loved that answer so much. I don't even remember, bro. But first, I would love everyone to get a hold of you, and so I will make sure. And is that link that I'm going to put in the? Is that the best way for people to get a hold of you, or what's the best way for people to get a hold
Yeah,
of you?
so here's what we can do. I'll give them an easier link that you can actually get access to that as well. So if you go to cole360.com, so Cole360, it'll actually take you to all of my links. So it's got my Instagram, which if you want to communicate with me and follow, like that's where I'm most active at Instagram, which is just Cole David Taylor, if you want to just go straight there. But Cole360.com. It has my socials, it has the podcast, it has my YouTube, and then it has a couple links that say under coaching, and it's got free resources of that program. It's got, information about, if you actually want to get testing done, obviously you can explore that as well, but you could download that free resources there.
Sweet. Thank you for sharing that.
Of
All
course.
y'all, man, go and follow and connect with Cole. Obviously, I told you at the beginning of the show, I said, if you don't, you'll want to at the end. I told you already, go and make that happen. And then, man, go get your health dialed in. That was my second one. This is,
Yeah.
if you have time for one more,
Yeah, I guess as much time as you need.
how do you see health and spirituality aligning?
Mm.
And how does your health make you more spiritual and connected to God? That was the other question.
Man, it's a loop. Both support each other, and I could use scientific terms too, to where, when I use the word faith, because I break life into four pillars: faith, family, fitness, and finance. You probably heard other use similar language. To me, faith is all of my internal man. It's my mindset, it's my belief, it's my connection with God, it's my emotions. It's this whole like internal person. Uh, to me, your fitness and your faith interconnect, and scientifically, it's 90 something percent of your serotonin is produced in your gut. And so, that to me, like your happy chemical, serotonin, is produced in your gut health. And so the foods I eat actually shape how happy I am. And so there's this like circular belief. Same thing, your brain is connected to your gut through your brain gut axis, called the vagus nerve. And so there's this like connection between how I think and what I eat and what's going in my stomach. And so to me, when I am eating good foods, I feel better, I make better decisions, I have more energy. And also when if I've gained a lot of weight and I'm tired and I'm exhausted, like I start to think and feel differently. It goes deeper into a spiritual level too, in my opinion. But like that's where it starts, is that mental emotional state. If I am at my best and have high energy and I'm taking care of my body, like I'm a happier person. I've got more drive, got more energy, I've got more mental clarity. And so that mental emotional thing. But the Bible I read says your body is actually the temple of the Holy Spirit. Religious way of saying like this body is what houses God. And I believe that when you have a relationship with God, you receive him, he actually like comes and connects with your spirit and lives inside of you and can speak to you and guide you and lead you. And I have this God connection. But to me, and it's a joke I always say, like if my body's the temple of the Holy Spirit, I want to give him a temple, not a rundown Motel 6. Like I got to take care of this thing. But I have known just from practical action that when I don't take care of my body, it actually hurts my connection with God a little bit, because I'm not even clear with myself, and I'm not consistent with my habits, because spiritual development takes just as much. Like there's a reason they use the words religious practice. Like you actually have to practice your religion just like you do your fitness. I got to practice my mindset. It requires work. And so when I'm not consistent with my health, it immediately carries over in my mindset. It carries over into how I connect with God. And I disconnect some of this connection because I'm not regulated well. And so I just know like it all supports each other. But also, my faith being strong when I'm clearly connected with God, there's a different level of clarity for my intentionality in my health too. Is when I know that like I'm hearing from Him, there's a drive to like, man, if I don't take care of my health, I can't live out this stuff that He's pointing me to. Like I got this drive and this vision of here's who I want you to impact or what I want you to create. And a lot of my vision and visual, like to me, it's a partnership with something bigger than me. And if I'm not taking care of my body, that's the immediate like feeling I feel inside, is like I will limit my impact in this vision that He's created me if I don't take care of my body. Because I either won't be around like my dad, or if I am here, I'm not going to be my best. And so to me, it all plays together. And the more that I strengthen one, it strengthens the other. And if I can intentionally do both, they actually compound. Where most people like, I'm all in on business and just forget my body. Well, if you'll intentionally do both, the body becomes a weapon for the business and vice versa. So,
So such a great answer, man. And I love how you said that if you don't take care of your body, it limits your impact. Because I know
yeah,
that anybody listening to this, if they're listening to my show, they want to make an impact. I know that
100%.
for
Yeah.
certain. So I know that you want to make an impact. So I want you to listen to what Cole said, man. If you don't take care of your body, you limit your ability to make an impact. And I know that God has a bigger calling for you than just a small impact. It's a massive impact. And so if you don't feel like your spiritual, your physical, all the mental are aligned, you need to connect with this dude. He's obviously uniquely qualified to be able to help you through it. And I don't get anything from saying that except for I know that you will improve, which ultimately you learned about Cole on my show. And so just let me know down the road.
I'll
But
let you
dude,
know.
and that's what I'm in it for, right? That's what you're in it for, is that impact. And so, Cole, thank you so much, bro, for sharing your knowledge, your wealth, your wisdom, your and being that person who's fully aligned on those areas and giving us actionable tools and systems and frameworks to be able to literally like the action. That's why I have so many notes right now, is because the
Yeah.
actionables that you gave are crazy good, man. And it's rare when I do a podcast interview. So appreciate you, bro. Thank you.
Honor to be here. Thanks for letting me serve your community and everyone listening to this. Thanks for listening, and I hope it was valuable to you.
100% valuable, man. Go click that link. Go make sure that you get the test and all those kind of things. And then always, man, live always with aloha. Peace.